Our journey to Cocos Island starts in Central America, in Costa Rica. It takes us 300 nautical miles out to sea, to the tip of a Pacific volcano thrusting 640 meters out of the water. With an area of 25 square kilometers, this is considered the largest uninhabited rainforest island in the world. Sheer rock faces make access so difficult that some parts of the island have still not been explored. Cocos has never had direct contact with the mainland, so it has a wealth of endemic flora and fauna, species that exist nowhere else in the world. In the tropical jungle, the air is hot and humid, the result of daily downpours. Annual precipitation at 8,000 millimeters is 10 times higher than in Germany. At many points on the mountain's flanks, water plunges from great heights. Countless streams rush through the inland gorges, for centuries a source of fresh drinking water for fishermen, pirates, and ship's crews on long voyages. An oasis in the ocean, shrouded in myth and legend, even today. This is the place that inspired the 19th century Scottish author Robert Louis Stevenson to write the novel Treasure Island. Since then, countless treasure hunting expeditions have set sail for Cocos, but all have left empty-handed. Instead of gold and silver, the volcanic island has other treasures to offer, especially underwater. After 36 hours at sea, at times in pleasant company, our ocean-going ship, the Sea Hunter, approaches its destination. The captain slows the engines. So this is it, our treasure island. Moving cautiously over rocks and reefs close to the surface, the ship proceeds towards the island and gives everyone on board plenty of time to take in the scenery. A tropical island, but with none of the customary palm-fringed beaches. Every movement of the ship opens up a new vista. This steep coastline has no sheltered bays to offer. Our ship is constantly exposed to the swell. The crew have their hands full, lowering the anchor and mooring the ship as securely as possible. Not everyone on deck has to work. Niels has found a few books in the ship's library about earlier expeditions to the Treasure Island. Stories of fortune hunters and legends of pirates' hordes. Even a US president came here. Franklin D. Roosevelt took part in several expeditions, and he was only one of many. On land, many of their names are chiseled into a stone guest book. Nearly every boulder is covered in them. Jacques Cousteau called Cocos the most beautiful island in the world. Some entries in the guest book date way back. Today, it's strictly forbidden to explore the island alone. Access is permitted only to small, clearly designated areas. There are no paths or tracks into the rainforest, much to the disappointment of all those who dream of hidden treasure from pirate ships or once rich churches. On board the Sea Hunter, a land expedition is being prepared. The crew lower the launches into the water. The biologists on board are not the only ones excited. The planned excursion is to an offshore bird rock. One inquisitive local has already come aboard. The volcanic outcrop Manuelita rises over 100 meters out of the water. Its sheer sides inhibit access and make it a safe outpost for nesting seabirds. Conservationists from Costa Rica want to check the size of the colony. The boobies show no fear of humans. After a few lean years, they now have all they need to raise their young. In the waters around the island, there are again plenty of sardines. Expeditions to bird colonies invariably include the risk of being bombarded with bird excreta, but it doesn't deter the ornithologists from going about their work. Sometimes they even have to disturb the birds to check whether a nest contains eggs or chicks. The adult seems a bit unsettled, but doesn't leave the eggs. Only the red-footed booby builds a proper nest in trees and bushes. The yellow-footed brown booby hatches its eggs on the ground. The two species have staked a claim to the entire offshore rock. On the cliffs of the main island, other fish hunters have set up home, frigate birds. During the mating season, the males inflate their bright red throat sac to attract the attention of the females. For a passing female frigate bird, the sac evidently has a magnetic attraction. He's achieved what he wants. She moves into his nest. But vigilance is vital. There are rivals all around. Only after mating can the red throat sac be safely deflated. At only 2 points on the island, freshwater streams have created a short pebble beach, a favourite feeding ground for herons. The large birds must have flown here from the mainland. This one seems to have little experience of such marine creatures as octopuses. As both a national park and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Cocos is permanently guarded. The park rangers are the island's only human residents. There are no overnight facilities for tourists and tight restrictions on visits by ship's passengers. Because of daily feeding, small finches are permanent guests at the ranger station. An endemic species, they differ strikingly from their mainland cousins in terms of leg length and wingspan. Due to the island's total isolation, they've taken a different route along the evolutionary trail. This species of lizard is also only found here. Off this stretch of coast, visitors are fairly free to decide where they go, provided they stick to the rules and dive only within the areas selected by the expedition leader.
We want to go to Alcyon, okay? Alcyon is a seamount.
On board, a diving instructor briefs the group on the next dive.
It's about 85 feet deep, the shallowest point about 25 meters.
Meanwhile, on the bridge, the dive site coordinates are entered into the GPS. On the way there, the ship needs to steer clear of many rock formations rising to just under the surface. The Sea Hunter's owner is familiar with the waters around Cocos and maneuvers us safely to a group of rock needles. Their shape indicates the kind of landscape that awaits us underwater. The central seamount that forms Cocos Island is fringed with rock pillars, which churn the surface currents and mix them with the plankton-rich water rising from the deep, hence the massive concentrations of fish. During the day, many fish seek safety in numbers, forming shoals so large and dense that they can hide an entire rock wall. For species like the blue-striped snapper, the mountain offers not just food, but also caves and hiding places galore. Chances of survival here are evidently good, otherwise the place wouldn't be so crowded. While the small marine animals huddle together, occasional loners, like moray eels, squeeze into cracks in the rock to stay safe from bigger predators. The only reason they're opening their mouths here is to breathe. A group of Moorish idols, grazing the algae-covered slope undisturbed. Their bright colours persuade predators that they're poisonous. Between rock slopes that rise almost to the surface, we find marbled rays in matrimonial mood. A female is courted by two males. Elsewhere in the world, rays prefer a flat, sandy seabed. Here at Cocos, they've adapted to the volcanic landscape. They also show no fear of divers. Like their flat cousins, fast, agile reef sharks have also found hunting grounds among the rocks. And not only hunting grounds, but resting places as well. When sharks rest in large groups, there has to be a reason. And the reason is body care. Small, cleaner gobies free the large predators from parasites and dead skin, even in places that look pretty risky. But the cleaners' lives are not in danger. They have an agreement with the sharks. One party gets cleaned, the other gets to feed in safety. And despite the huge difference in size, the arrangement between host and cleaner seems to work well. While the shark rests, the gobies provide a full grooming and pest control service. It's a service that's in high demand. Sometimes the sharks have to queue to be served. But rest periods can be abruptly terminated. Because sharks have extremely sensitive sense organs for smell, they can detect a potential mate a long way off. The males leave their resting places. As if in response to a secret signal, they home in on the female. It's still not fully known how female sharks signal their availability for breeding. It's assumed they release pheromones into the water, substances that trigger a sexual response. As soon as that happens, the females are pursued, often by a number of males. Here, Cocos Island offered a rare opportunity to film sharks mating. In contrast to the spawning rituals of most fish, a shark wedding is a genuine coupling and a brutal-looking business. Two males engage a female, sinking teeth into her fins and flanks until one of them succeeds in mating. Waters packed with plankton also attract more docile species of shark. The biggest fish in the ocean, the whale shark. These giants don't have classic shark teeth. They don't need them because they don't eat fish. Their prey is plankton, tiny organisms that rise on the currents in massive quantities at Cocos Island. While the whale shark continues to follow the bountiful current, a glance at the surface shows the weather is turning bad. This is not unusual for Cocos Island. Nowhere else gets so much rain. It averages 8,000 millimeters a year, which is 10 times more than in Germany. Filming underwater is difficult in lighting conditions like this, but the weather goes well with the precipitous landscape. The dive team returns, right on time for lunch. But there's no time for a longer break. Preparations need to be made for the next dive. All the cameras have to be washed to remove the salt water, then loaded with fresh film and memory chips. When everything's done, the film team sets off for one of the most exciting dives of the trip. Hugging the coastline, the dive boat heads for one of the submarine mountains, some way from the spot where we are anchored. The sheer cliffs are an extension of the landscape underwater. A free fall straight into the territory of hungry reef sharks. They're evidently out hunting. Smaller reef dwellers seek refuge in narrow crevices in the rock. But not every hiding place is safe from these restless predators. They check every single hole in the wall. The tip of an underwater needle makes a good vantage point. Suddenly, a new and bigger shape appears among the reef sharks, a hammerhead. Is it alone or one of a group? No sooner is the question asked than it's answered. Out of the blue water comes a whole armada of powerful, scalloped hammerhead sharks. They're a weird sight, with eyes and nostrils at each end of a grotesquely extended brow. It's assumed that the hammer-like shape of the head increases the shark's maneuverability, while the wider spacing of the eyes makes for better 3D vision. Scientists think these schools disperse at night and return to Cocos only at dawn, guided by the magnetic field created in the seabed by old lava flows. That lightning reaction was probably triggered by a tiny signal imperceptible to a human being. The sharks pick up such signals with special, highly developed sense organs on their head and the sides of their body. Some hammerheads regularly leave the group and come here to have their wounds tended by butterfly fish. The shark's attention is evidently caught by the cleaners advertising. The butterfly fish swim out to the prospective client with no apparent fear. Almost all the sharks that come for cleaning are female, in need of treatment for the scars and wounds inflicted by males in rough sexual encounters. The extra slow body movements are a signal that there's nothing to fear. The request is quickly understood. The body care team is joined by more and more butterfly fish. When the last hammerheads leave the mountain, we also swim out into the blue water. Above us, cutting through the rising columns of our air bubbles, peaceful mantas glide past. Encounters with mantas are a fascinating experience for any diver. But while pictures like this are now familiar, there are still significant gaps in our knowledge of the animal's life cycle in the Pacific. They seem to play with the divers, pulling alongside them for several seconds and showing themselves from all sides in their full majestic splendor.